Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Go ahead and pull up a chair, get comfortable, because today we are diving into a deeply profound intersection of ancient theology and human psychology. It's a topic that reaches right down into the very core of why we do what we do, and honestly, why we believe what we believe. So let's jump right into this journey together.
Let me ask you something right off the bat. Would you risk total, absolute social isolation just to follow your heart? It's a pretty heavy question, isn't it? I mean, it's super easy to say yes when we're just thinking about it in the abstract. But what happens when the rubber actually meets the road? When following your truest convictions means you could potentially lose your friends, your community, or your status? Well, navigating that tension, overcoming the fear of being ostracized and following the heart is the core theme of our journey today.
And this brings us right to the big idea for this explainer. It's simply this. Unbelief is rarely about a lack of evidence. It's usually about a surplus of fear. Think about that for a second. Often people reject a profound truth not because they can't see it. The evidence might literally be staring them right in the face, but because they are absolutely terrified of what accepting that truth is going to cost them socially.
Act 1. The social instinct.
You know, for our ancient ancestors, being ostracized wasn't just socially awkward. It was a literal death sentence. You either fit in with the group or you were cast out onto the plains where, let's be real, you had better odds fighting a saber-toothed tiger with a twig than surviving all by yourself. Because of that brutal history, the fear of social rejection is a deeply ingrained biological instinct for us. To our brains, social peril feels exactly like physical peril.
This crucial point is captured so perfectly in this quote from the newsletter author, affectionately known as Papa. He writes, "Professing faith openly is hard. We must let our hearts overcome our fears." You see, Papa often grounds his deep philosophical musings in warm human reality. He shares lore about his family, like his spouse, Colonel Debs, and his beloved deceased father, Papa Q-Bear. And these stories, they remind us that we aren't just talking about abstract ideas here. These are real, everyday struggles lived out by real families. We all naturally want to fit in, for sure, but sometimes true faith demands that we courageously step out.
Act 2. Evidence versus fear. So consider this tale of two hearts. On one side, we have Mary. Picture her in a crowded room, completely unselfconscious, anointing Jesus' feet with this massively expensive oil. It was a shocking, extravagant display of devotion that completely ignored every social norm in the book. On the exact opposite side, we have Judas, loudly criticizing her for wasting money, all while he was secretly skimming from the money box himself. It's a brilliant illustration of how outward appearances can be so incredibly deceiving. Mary risked total social embarrassment for the truth, while Judas hid his darkness right behind a mask of social respectability. 0. Literally 0. That is the exact number of religious leaders who publicly confessed their belief in Jesus during this crucial moment. Just think about that. These leaders had witnessed countless undeniable miracles. They saw the evidence with their very own eyes. They absolutely knew the truth in their minds. But 0 of them stepped forward publicly. So, why? Well, the leaders were completely paralyzed by this tension between the praise of men and the praise of God. They loved the social safety of fitting into the synagogue way more than they loved spiritual truth. Basically, they were terrified of that ostracization we talked about earlier. It's such a tragic paradox, isn't it? Believing the truth privately, but staying completely silent publicly, just because the approval of the crowd felt so much safer than stepping into the blinding light of God's truth.
And this leads us to a really sobering concept, the mystery of judicial hardening. As it's explained through the ancient prophecy of Isaiah, there's this profound psychological and spiritual reality at play. Think of it like this. When people willfully and repeatedly just shut their eyes to the light, eventually, God kind of answers that persistent refusal by cementing their chosen blindness. The fear of man literally paralyzes their ability to see the truth clearly over time.
There's an old saying that goes, either the secrecy kills the discipleship or the discipleship kills the secrecy. And that really hits the nail on the head. It perfectly sums up the impossibility of being a secret follower of the truth forever. True conviction is kind of like a fire. You simply can't keep it hidden in a cardboard box. Eventually, following your heart demands outward courage. You have to make a choice about which one is going to survive, the secret or the truth.
Act 3. Connecting to today.
I want you to think of peer pressure like a cage. Imagine this heavy, suffocating gravity of human expectations just pressing down on you, telling you exactly how to act, what to believe, and who you're supposed to be. Escaping that cage requires stepping into a light that can feel, frankly, overwhelmingly bright and exposing. But that blinding light, that is the exact feeling of breaking free. It's the ultimate liberation of finally aligning your outward life with your inward convictions.
Jesus actually used this beautifully vivid metaphor for the whole process. He said, a grain of wheat must fall to the ground and die to produce a harvest. What that means is we have to willingly let go of our desperate attachment to this world's approval. We literally have to let our fear of social rejection die so that we can cultivate a life of true, eternal significance. You've got to lose the superficial if you want to gain the profound.
Following your heart.
So how do we actually do this in our daily lives? Well, first, pray for a soft, courageous heart, one that stays open to the truth but is strong enough to stand entirely alone if it has to. Second, consciously make the choice to value divine truth over human applause. You have to remind yourself every single day that the crowd's approval is incredibly fleeting. Third, walk in the light through open confession. Don't hide who you are or what you believe. And finally, let your heart grow right through the fear. Courage isn't the absence of fear, guys. It's moving forward anyway, despite the wild critters out there on the plains.
As we wrap things up, I want to leave you with a final Papa-inspired thought. Jesus came not to judge the dark, but to rescue the world with light. Stepping out of the cozy safety of the crowd might feel like you're stepping straight into danger, but actually, it is the only path to a true rescue. The light doesn't just expose us, it heals us and it guides us home. Which leaves us with one last question to chew on. What will you choose to do with your light? Are you going to hide it away just to keep the crowd happy? Or will you let it shine no matter the cost? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, keep questioning, and above all, have the courage to follow your heart.